Welcome back to another exciting episode of Talking Business with Ritz. Hello, fantastic fam bam. I am your host, Ritzel Loredo Rectra, and today we have an incredible show lined up for you. All right, let me just show the background. Okay, now before we dive into the heart of today's discussion, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for tuning in. Your energy and engagement truly make this show what it is. All right. All right, Talking Business with Ritz live expert interview is all about showcasing the person behind the title before the offer. We discuss strategies, empowering coaches, course creators, consultants, and service providers for business and personal growth. So, through these expert interviews, we offer valuable insights, actionable advice, and authentic connections, thus humanizing entrepreneurship. But, all right, hold on a bit. Okay, here we go. So, but hold on to your seats, okay, because today we've got a powerhouse in the house. She's a media domination strategist, an 8 time published author, and an expert trainer sought after by the best in the industry. Joining us today is none other than Coach Leah Forney. Welcome to the show, Coach Leah. All
Thank you for having
right.
me, Riz. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm so excited having you here. All right. Now, today's episode is a game changer. So we're diving into the art of perfecting your profitable pitch. I have problem with F and P. All right, now, but before we unravel those gems, so we have Coach Leah here. Tell us a bit about yourself and what drives you in the work you do.
Yeah, sure. So, hey everyone, I am Leah M. Forney. I'm the Media Domination Strategist. I work with women's service providers, teaching them how to hone in on their skills of pitching so they can secure more media opportunities for their business or their brand. I got into this industry about 6, almost 7 years ago when I was a first time published author. I had a book, I had a message, and I had my voice. And I was looking for ways to expand my reach, expand my exposure, make greater impact with my book. And so I did some research and I stumbled across media. And I was like, oh, okay, that's an idea. Before I knew, I always thought media meant like you had to be this big, well-known person like Oprah or something like that. And so as I continued to dive into my research about media, I've learned that a lot of media outlets out there love to interview experts of all kinds. So whether you're an author, whether
Oh,
you're a coach, whether
yes.
you're a consultant, whether you're a speaker, they love to interview us. And so I did my research and I taught myself how to pitch. And so my very first interview was actually on a late night radio show where I got to talk
Mhm.
about my first book, Unapologetically Me. And I talked about how I learned to forgive my mother because we had this complex mother daughter relationship. So
Uh-huh.
after that interview is when I probably learned that I was onto something. And I was like,
Mhm.
maybe I need to stick with this media. And so I've been honing these skills for almost 7 years. And now I'm in the space where I now like like to teach other women entrepreneurs just like me how to do the same thing. I think other people think that in order to be seen as an expert, in order to get media attention, they have to
Mm-hmm.
hire a publicist. Well, when you're first starting out, you don't have thousands of dollars to hire a publicist. And so what makes
Correct. Correct.
my approach unique is that I teach you how to be your own publicist. I teach you how to master your own skills so that you can get the visibility, you can show up as the expert, and then you can make the money so that one day you can hire the publicist.
All right, and we'll talk about that more in the Learn from the Expert segment. So, now, viewers, I want you to get ready to engage with us. All right, drop your questions and your comments in the live chat. And guess what? We will feature them during the show, so don't be shy. All right, now stay tuned because in just a moment, Coach Leah and I will be diving deeper, okay, into visibility strategies, transforming your media game, and the three C's of pitching. I wonder what it is. All right, we're no more later. Okay, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. All right, give us the thumbs up. And if you are excited, and share this stream with your fellow entrepreneurs. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the magic. Coach Leah, are you ready to share your insights with our amazing audience?
I'm
All right, now
ready.
let's. Okay, there seems like there's a delay with our audio, so let's jump to the first segment. All right, welcome, Pam Pam, to Talking Business with Ritz. If you've just joined us, you're in for a treat. Okay, we are in the midst of an incredible conversation with our brilliant media domination strategist, our dominator here, okay, Coach Leah M. Forney. Now it's time to get to know the expert herself. So let's start with the first question. Let me change the angle of the screen. All right, Coach Leah. Who is Coach
Mhm.
Leah as a person and as a media domination strategist?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I would say who I am as a person and as a media domination strategist is all encompassing. I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God. I always say that
Mhm.
He's the CEO of my company, which means He's also the CEO of my life. I'm a mom. I have three amazing little ones. I'm a significant other, so I have a spouse that I love dearly. I'm a friend. I always try to say I'm like your good old girlfriend. We can chit chat together. We can brainstorm together. We can talk business. We can talk life. We can pray
Mhm.
together. I try to bring who I am into what I do as a media domination strategist. I'm also your accountability partner. I'm your cheerleader. So a lot of my clients, what they love about me is that I do not only cheerlead them and encourage them, but I hold them accountable because I believe that accountability is so important when you want to be successful.
Oh, it does. It does, yes. All right. Now, so Coach Leah is not just a media domination strategist, all right? She is the CEO of Purposeful, Faithful LLC, and the creator of Bowsy. I don't Bows Women Pitch, where she actually teaches women entrepreneurs how to hone in the pitching. I don't know how to pronounce it. All right, now, what does Bowsy Women Pitch means? What does BOW stands for, and what is it about?
Yeah, so BOSS is an acronym for bold, ambitious women seeking exposure. Okay. It's a little play on words to the word boss. So it's really boss, but it's a little play on words. But what it is it's really my way of teaching women entrepreneurs just like me how to
Mhm.
increase their pitching skills so that they can get that media exposure, right? And so I always say that nobody writes a book or starts a business without wanting to make impact, right? And so it's one of the greatest ways that
Right.
you can make impact is by getting more exposure, right? Increasing your visibility, getting in front of more media. And so I created Boss Women Pitch because I wanted to teach those bold and ambitious women entrepreneurs who are desiring more media opportunities how to do just that.
All right, fascinating. Now, it's it's always inspiring to hear, what your project or what your program is about. But how do you approach helping businesses amplify their presence?
Yeah. So one of my things that I teach is visibility is the name of the game, right? I think a lot of times, especially in social media world, we tend to only want to show up when we have something to offer, right? We
Oh,
only want to
true.
show up when we have a book that's selling, a program that's opening, things like that. And so, truly, if you want to amplify your presence, you're going to have to show up and you're going to have to deliver value, right? And so, delivering value can look like educating your audience about something they may not know. It can look like giving them glimpses into your lifestyle, right? So I'm really big on lifestyle content. It can look like doing some behind the scenes content. So maybe you are working on that course, or you're working on that book, or you're working on a coaching program, giving them insight to that journey. Visibility really is about taking your audience on the journey with you, right? So it's not waiting until the program is ready and then being like, hey, I'm here. It's taking them step by step on the journey with you so that they get insight as to who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
All right, impressive. Now let's get to know Coach Leah on a more personal level. Are you ready for a lightning round of fun questions, Coach Leah?
Let's do it.
All right, now what is your favorite word and why?
Oh, what is my favorite word and why? I would probably have to say my favorite word is unapologetic. And the reason why is because I feel like that's how you should show up. You should show up unapologetic. So that means good, bad, ugly, and different. You are just comfortable with who you are in your own skin.
All right, unapologetic. All right, now if you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, if I could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Yes.
I would probably say invisibility. I would probably say invisibility. And I think the reason why is because I am, contrary to popular belief, I'm more of an extrovert than I am an introvert. So if I
Mm,
could just like be in the room and nobody really knows I'm in the room, that would be great.
all right. Now, what are three words your friends would use to describe you?
Oh, so I think my friends would describe me as fun, outgoing, and authentic.
All right. Now, if you have to choose between a beach vacation or a mountain retreat, which one would you choose?
Ooh. It's the beach. Anything by the water for me.
All right. Now, what is one book that has had a significant impact on your life?
Oh, outside of the Bible, I would probably say We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers.
Oh, a good book. That's a good book. All right. Now, last question. If you could give one
Yeah.
piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think what I would tell my younger self would be do it afraid. I think my younger self was a very fearful young lady and she let fear stop her in the tracks. So I would tell her, if you're going to do something, do it afraid.
All right. Now, those were fantastic, Coach Leah. Okay, now, Fam Bam, my dear viewers, drop your questions for Coach Leah in the live chat. What's I gotta ask this, Coach Leah. So, what's one key piece of advice you'd give to businesses looking to enhance their media presence?
I think for me, it would be consistent. Be consistent. The good old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, neither will your media presence be. So be consistent.
Or do you have to be to show up like every day, or is there like what is consistent?
So I think this is where a lot of us go. I always tell people there's a difference between consistency and frequency, right? So consistency really
Hmm.
means doing that thing over and over again, right? Frequency is
Right.
how often you do it, right? And so oftentimes when we hear consistency, we think of frequency when really when I say be consistent means keep doing it, right? Because repetition is what gets people to know that's exactly what you do. So every time you show up, talk about what it is that you do, right? Every time you post content, make sure it's aligning with what you do. Be consistent by doing that thing over and over again, right? Now, how often you do it, that's up to you. My way of coaching is always pay attention to your own capacity. Some of us wear so many hats. We're wives, we're
Yeah.
moms, we're dads, we're uncles. We have so many things on our plate. So you decide how often you want to post that content, but be consistent in posting the content.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. Now, Fam Bam, stick around. We're about to dive into the heart of today's topic: perfecting your profitable pitch. Okay, segment two. All right, welcome back, amazing Fambams, to Talking Business with Ritz. We are deep in our conversation with the incredible media domination strategist, Coach Leah Forney. Now, it's time to learn from the expert. So, Coach Leah, let's delve into the specifics of perfecting your profitable pitch. Starting with our first uh, topic,
Mhm.
which is, let me change the angle. Visibility is the name of the game. So let me flash it on screen.
Mhm.
All right, now Coach Leah, in a world of saturated content, okay, saturated with content, how can businesses stand
Mhm.
out and truly enhance their visibility through media channels? Are there specific strategies or platforms you find most effective?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I will say two things. One way that you can really stand out is creating
Mhm.
content from a unique angle, right? So I
Right.
always tell my clients there's nothing new under the sun, right? But you can figure out what's your unique angle, what's your special sauce, right? How you teach it and teach your content and create your content that way, right? So I always tell people I'm not the only one that teaches in media. I'm not the only one that's a visibility strategist. I'm not the only one. But how I teach it is from the approach of let me show you how you can do this yourself without having to spend thousands of dollars. So I would say the first thing is definitely figure out what is your unique angle. Make sure that everything you do from your content to how you interview talks about that unique angle. The other thing that I would say too is utilize other people's platforms, right? So if you really want to expand your exposure, get on those podcasts, get on those radio shows, do live interviews like this one with Ritz, right?
Yes.
All of these things help you to really expand your exposure. And these are the things that, contrary to popular belief, the media is actually looking for. So when they reach out or you reach out to them, to them, they're going to research you. They're going to go looking for your content. They're going to look to see what podcasts you've been on, what live interview you've had. All of those things help you to be SEO friendly and make you more, credible. So don't be afraid to get on these interviews and show up as the expert that you are, because that's what's going to help really expand your exposure.
Correct. Fantastic advice. Now, building on that, can you share a case where a business successfully leveraged media visibility to achieve significant growth or success?
Yeah, so I can tell you of one of my current clients. Me and her, when I met her, she was already a published author, and she came to me because she was interested in developing her media presence in the form of podcasting. So she wanted to start her own podcast. And so I helped her create her podcast show. And she stuck around, learned the strategies on how to grow it, how to really leverage it. And then most recently, she was hired to be a media personality for an award show. And so she took that very podcast and her own exposure, and she leveraged it and reached out to an award show that was happening in Nashville, Tennessee. And they were like, yes, we would love for you to come and interview our award attendees. And so from there, she did so good that they invited her back for next year's. So that's one way that you can really leverage media as a business owner.
Wow, that's excellent. Right. So continuing on visibility, how can businesses adapt their visibility strategies to different platforms, considering the unique dynamics of each? So we have podcasts, we have YouTube.
So
Live.
here is Yeah, so this is what I would suggest. Focus on one. Pick one platform to start off with, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself trying to be everywhere. So when I started out, I strictly did podcast interviews. That is all I did. Majority of my interviews came from podcasting. And then after I felt like I mastered doing interviews on podcasts, then I added another media conference. So then I went from podcasting to doing live interviews. From those live interviews, then I started doing magazine features. So what I would recommend starting out is find the one platform that not only aligns with your brand, but also aligns with your audience. So that's why it's very important to know who your audience is, because I know majority of my audience is podcast listeners. So it made sense for me to interview on podcasts. So that's what I would say. Don't try to overwork yourself or overwhelm yourself trying to do it all at once. Pick one platform and then build from there.
All right, that's a great insights. Now moving on to our next topic, 6 keys to transform your media game. Right now, Coach Leah, you've outlined 6 keys to transform the media game, right? Can you walk us through a couple of these keys, offering practical examples on how business can actually implement them for optimal results?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so key number 1 is going to be that you identify your unique angle, right? So remember, I said there's nothing new under the sun. Media outlets and journalists are oftentimes looking for unique approaches to stories, right? So I'll give you guys a personal example. When we had the overturning of Roe versus Wade, I had a media outlet reach out to me who wanted to interview me on my feelings around the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Now, I could have approached it as just another woman talking about my feelings about it. But what I did was I pulled from my experience as a sexual assault survivor and advocate, and I talked about it from the perspective of how the overturning of Roe versus Wade impacts women who may have been impregnated by their perpetrator, right? That's a unique angle. So when you want to transform your media game, you want to think about, how can I approach this conversation from a unique perspective? Okay. So that's key number one. Key number
Right.
two is you got to identify your audience. So, who needs this information? Who needs to hear from you as the expert, right? Oftentimes, your audience will let you know the type of media they're interested in anyway, right? So when you know who your
Right.
people are, you know where you need to show up for them. As I mentioned before, majority of my people are podcast listeners. So it only made sense that I did a lot of podcast interviews because that's what they listen to. So if you really want to transform your media game, you're going to have to start with really deep diving into your audience. Who are these people? What kind of media do they listen to? What kind of magazines do they read? Where do they typically show up for live interviews? All of those things you
Mhm.
want to know, because that's what's going to help you to know where you need to show up in order to be the expert that they need to see, especially for my coaches and service providers, because that's how you get to attract them, and then they get to following you, and you can build and nurture that relationship with them and ultimately convert them. So got to know your audience. Okay. And then I would say the third key is craft a unique story. Craft a unique story, right? Like, one thing about the media is they love relevant, timely, and newsworthy stories. So when you are going
Yeah.
to pitch to them, you have to be able to share how this story is relevant to them. Is going to be relevant to your audience, is newsworthy, right? And so I always say, if you're going to talk to the media or you're going to have your story, they love stories like rags to riches. They love stories
Yes.
of the underdog. They love stories of like tragedy to triumph, right? So all of us have
Right.
some type of form of that story. So make sure that you're crafting a story that is unique, that's relevant, that's newsworthy, and that's timely. Okay. So
Okay.
those are three of those keys. I'll give you one more. So my
All
fourth
right.
key would
Yes.
be definitely identify media outlets that align with your brand and your audience. This is going to be so important because you don't want to be the person that's just interviewing for the sake of interviewing. You want to make sure that
Yeah.
you are finding those media outlets that interview people in your industry, right? So when I was just an author, I went on all the podcasts that interviewed authors, right? Because that aligned with my brand, that aligned with the type of audience I was attracting. So now I'll get on shows like this one who are looking for experts, who are looking for coaches. So you want to make sure that you do some research and
Yeah.
identify which media outlets actually interview people like me in my industry.
All right. Now, following up with this, are there any misconceptions about, these keys that you've observed, and how can, businesses navigate or overcome these misconceptions?
Yeah, so I would say there's two big misconceptions. One is that you need a whole lot of certifications in order for the media to want to interview you. That is a huge misconception. The media is looking for people that are knowledgeable and credible. That is what they're looking for. You do not have to have 7 degrees, a whole bunch of certifications. Are you knowledgeable and are you credible? That is what they care about. The other misconception is that you have to have a huge following in order for the media to want to interview you. That is absolutely not true. When I started out, I didn't have thousands of people following me. I probably had 100 people following me, and yet I was still getting media interviews, right? So you got
Right.
to shift your mindset from this thing of like, oh, I have to have tens and thousands of people following me. Again, what they care about is, are you knowledgeable and are you credible?
Correct. And just like in the show, are you authentic? All right. Now,
Yep.
on to our third topic, the three C's of pitching. Here we go. Okay, now pitching is often viewed as an art, and salespeople. All right, and you've got outlined the three C's. So can you break down each C Okay, providing actionable tips for entrepreneurs looking into master the art of pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first C is clarity. Clarity is very important because before you pitch to the media, you want to be clear about a few things. Who are you? What do you
Mm-hmm.
do? Who do you serve? Okay. Because oftentimes when you pitch, that is what they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know, who are you? So it's not enough to just say, I'm Leah M. Forney. Okay, that's great. What do you do? So giving them a little insight into what I do as a media domination strategist, right? And who do I serve?
Right.
So that's giving them insight into who's your audience, right? So I
Correct.
service women entrepreneurs. You might service men. So be clear about that. So the very first C is get clear, be clarity. Make sure that you're very clear about those three things before you pitch, okay?
All right.
The second C is credibility. So remember, I said the media is always looking for knowledgeable and credible sources, right? So credibility. The way that you want to build your credibility is, again, you want to be visible. So you want to always show up providing value,
Mm-hmm.
educating, giving insight, giving tips, right? But also another
Right.
way that you can be boosting your credibility is showcasing your achievements and your accolades. So if you've won awards, talk about it, right? If you have a background in something or you've gotten certified in something, talk about it, because those things definitely boost your credibility. And that is what the media is looking for. So when they go to researching you, they want to see that you have content where you've highlighted some of your achievements, where you've highlighted some of those client successes, where you've highlighted some of those awards and those accolades that you have received. Because again, that boosts your credibility, which will let the media know that, okay, this is a source that I can actually use. So definitely before you start pitching, make sure you're credible. Make sure you are putting out the type of content that shows that you're credible, that shows that you're knowledgeable, and that shows that you're an expert. But don't forget to highlight all of these things that can boost that credibility. I'll even say,
Hmm.
if you've been interviewed on other media platforms, definitely post it. I always share when I'm being interviewed by somebody. Why? Because when the media goes researching me, they're gonna see, oh, she's been interviewed by Ritz. She's been on this podcast. She's been featured in this magazine. All of that boosts my
Yes.
credibility. And then the last C is what I call customization. So you should be tailoring every pitch to the media outlets that you're pitching to. It is not a one size fit all. So the way you pitch to a podcast may be way different than the way you pitch to a magazine, right? So you want to make sure that you're
Mm-hmm.
customizing your pitch. Right now, that doesn't mean that you don't tell them who you are, what you do, and who you serve. But it
Yeah.
does mean that if I am pitching to a podcast that is about a book, right, or about me wanting to showcase my book, then I make sure that I am talking a little bit about the book. I'm talking about the value that I can bring to the show. I'm talking a little bit about my experience in that pitch. If I'm pitching to
Mm-hmm.
a magazine and I'm talking about my coaching program, then again, I'm still making sure I tailor that part. So I don't mention the book. I mention my coaching program. I talk a bit about the program, who it's for, why it's relevant to this magazine. So you want to make sure that you're customizing every pitch before you send it out. So those are my three C's.
All right. So that's clarity, credibility, and the last one,
Customization.
customization. All right. Correct. Okay, now I love that breakdown. Okay, lastly, considering the vast digital landscape, right? How can businesses optimize their pitches for various online platforms? I think you've already answered that in the three and the last C, right? But could you expound some more on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good question. So what I will say is pick one platform and pick the platform where your audience actually is. So oftentimes we
Mhm.
get comfortable with social media platforms, right? So we'll sit here and be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to show up on Facebook and I'm going to dominate on Facebook. But that does not necessarily mean that your audience is on Facebook,
Mhm.
right? So if you really want to make the greatest impact with media, you got to go where your audience is. So I would say definitely figure out which platform does your audience actually show up in, right? So for me, a lot of my audience is on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. So oftentimes that's where you'll find me sharing my content, talking about what I do, because that's where they are. Very few people, very few times will you find me on a platform like Facebook. So I would say definitely make sure that you are on the right platform for your audience, right? And that's why being clear about your audience is going to be important, because I know a lot of coaches that target Fortune 500 or business to business. Well, guess where they hang out at? LinkedIn. They're not on
Yeah.
Facebook, right? So you might want to go over there on LinkedIn and begin to build your authority over there so that they see you as the expert over there. So that's what I would say. Pick the right platform, pick one platform, and then show up over there and educate and provide value and dominate over there.
All right. Phenomenal insights, Coach Leah. Okay, everyone, now bam bam, drop your questions for our Coach Leah in the live chat. Take this opportunity to ask your questions. So, Coach Leah, before we move on, a quick fire question for you. What's one thing you wish every entrepreneur knew about perfecting their pitch?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the one thing that I wish is that entrepreneurs took time to really hone in on their expertise. Like really take time to develop your expertise, because it's really your expertise that's going to get you in front of the media. So don't be cookie cutter. Don't, want to talk about being an author today and then you want to be a chef tomorrow. Like really take time and perfect your expertise, develop your expertise so that you can show up as the expert that you are.
All right, spot on. So now stick around, everyone. We're heading into our final segment, Work with the Expert, where Coach Leah will share some exciting opportunities. All right. Okay, welcome back, fantastic Pambams. We've had an insightful conversation with Coach Leah and Forney, the Media Domination Strategist. Now it's time to explore opportunities to work with the expert. Okay, now Coach Leah, after this enlightening discussion, can you share some ways our viewers can connect with you, benefit from your expertise, and explore your offerings?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few ways that you can connect with me. Of course, you can follow me on social media. I'm on all the platforms as Leah M. Forney. I do have a Facebook community for women entrepreneurs who want to perfect their pitch. It's called Pitch Like a Boss. So you can come join us over there in the community of over 200 women who I get to train at least twice a week on different ways they can be seeking exposure and really amplifying their expertise. And then I have a freebie that you can download. It is called the Media Domination Swipe File. And you can definitely grab that by going to www.subscribepage.com/media domination. So definitely join the email list. And that's where you'll also get a lot of tips and insight on how you can be perfecting your pitch. And then the last thing I would say is I am currently taking applications for my collaborative, which is called Boss Women Pitch Collaborative. It is a 6 month group coaching program. And so you can definitely apply. I will drop the link so that you can apply. And definitely, I would love to have you as one of my women in the new cohort. I always take 10. I like to keep my cohorts nice and small. So 10 women who are ready to not only hone in on their pitching skills, but learn how to make their pitching profitable. So that is what you can do if you want to connect with me.
All right. Exciting opportunities, Coach Leah. And thank you for making today a fantastic episode.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Bam Bam. Make sure to explore these opportunities, connect with Coach Leah, and dive into her offerings for personalized guidance. Okay. Take advantage of this offer. The Boss Women Pitch Collaborative. This is a 6 months program as per Coach. Yeah. And visit her website at www.leahmforney.com. All right, now, Coach Leah, thank you for sharing your expertise today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Leah Forney. Okay, so, and that's a wrap for another enlightening episode of Talking Business with Ritz. A big thank you to our incredible guest, Coach Leah M. Forney, for sharing her wealth of wisdom. All right. Before we part ways, here are the quick reminder to stay connected. If you enjoyed today's insight or have burning questions for Coach Leah, drop them in the comments below. Your questions will be answered by our Coach Leah. All right, now mark your calendars as well because we have another powerhouse guest lined up for the next episode. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when we go live. And don't forget to join our Facebook group for the opportunity to network with like-minded entrepreneurs like Coach Leah here, who is authentic enough to help each other succeed in the online world. So as today, as always, ladies and gentlemen, keep the conversation going. All right, connect with me on Facebook and let me know your biggest takeaways from today's episode. Your insights and feedback mean the world to me. So until next time, keep hustling, everyone, and stay inspired. This is Ritzel Loredo Rectra. Where's my banner? Here you go. And Coach Leah M. Forney, stay safe and healthy, and let's continue talking business with Ritz. Bye, everybody.